I want to talk a little bit today about Bitcoin and what I believe or what I think the market will probably do. So currently, if you look at the market itself, right? So if you look at the price structure on this chart, so let me just zoom into this chart. So if you look at the price structure, what you can see is we've had a massive dump. But the dump was not that bad. It just brought us back to our previous support zone. So the previous support zone is literally, if you look at here, it's like June of something, I forgot what date it was, 2022, right? So it's literally brought us to that particular support where we had that red candle. So you can see this red candle here. So it's brought us close to this area here, which is fine. I don't see that being much of an issue where we are right now, as long as we can hold support. However, if we do break support here and we start trending down, then we have a bit of an issue, right? So we have a bit of an issue. That means that we could easily go back down to as low as the range would be from 24 to approximately here, which is 22. So we can easily come back down here. So we need to hold this particular zone we're in right now. And if we don't, then we need to move up, and we need to definitely hold the 26k, 26 or 25k, so 25.9, 26k, right? We need to definitely hold that. And if we don't, then we're going to basically come down and we need to hold this particular zone. So this 24 to 22 zone here. So that's how I'm looking at this market. However, when I'm looking at other fundamentals, like other data, for example, when I'm looking at this particular data, which is the stochastic RSI versus the RSI. So the yellow line is the RSI, the blue and red line is the stochastic RSI. If I ignore the stochastic RSI, which is the current momentum, and just follow onto the RSI itself, the yellow line, right? So what you can see on the yellow line, we haven't dipped down. So that means the greater momentum in the market is still trending up. So that's giving me a signal to say, yes, on the short time period, the stochastic RSI is saying that there is a bit of a dump, but that's only reflecting on what the current market situation is based on all the news and all the hype that's going on. And when the hype started, I said to people, I said, guys, looking at the hype, if you're not already in it and if you missed it, then best opportunity is to put a buy order around the 47 cents to 27 cents, that kind of a range. Put a buy order for XRP, that is, right? Because a lot of people have been holding, and that's my justification, is like a lot of people have been holding XRP for a very long time. So the way I look at it is, they need to take profit or cash out at least. So like, for example, today I was with somebody who put $1,000 in not long ago, but quite some time ago, put $1,000 in, and his grand went down to whatever, but he topped up a little bit more, maybe another grand or something, I can't remember what it was, but he came out with $6,000 in profit today and he cashed out. And that's the right thing to do. He cashed out. He said, all right, I've cashed out. I've taken my initial out. I've taken some profit out as well. Now I'm leaving another grand in there, but that's not my money. That's profit money. So that's the right way to do it. So this is what he's looked at. This is what he's doing. So, the market itself, right? When you look at XRP or when you look at the entire market, the pump that happened yesterday, everybody became bullish. The reality didn't kick in until, a little later, when people realized, oh, hold on. We're all being bullish, but actually, what's the market doing? A little pump here, a little pump there, doesn't make any difference. Like, these are literally, it was an altcoin pump made mostly by XRP. And because XRP became bullish, it was more powerful against other cryptos. And by doing that, it kind of reflected the price on others as well. So people were just buying whatever, thinking this is it. This is the bull market. But that's the wrong way to think about it. You should be bullish, right? So my advice has always been, you should be bullish when everybody else is bearish. So right now, when people are being bearish, this is when you start buying, you start accumulating. When everybody's being bullish, you start selling. That's the rules, right? So obviously for BTC, I've said this, like where we're going to be. I know a lot of people might say, well, what about XRP? So let's go to XRP for a second and just talk about it as well. I don't see a problem with that. Let's use Binance. I don't have a problem with that. Let's use Binance. This is on a weekly. So on a weekly, what you can see is XRP has done fantastic, right? It went all the way up to, I think, 90 something cents today. So, which is not bad. But if you look to the left, what you can see is literally hit that threshold where the top of the market is. Now, my prediction was around this particular level, 85, solely because we're looking at the top here, this particular area here, which was the 85. which was going to be the resistance. I was off by a few pennies. Of course, it went to the top, which is not a problem. So it decided to go and test the other level, which is not a problem. It did that. Now, when this happens, of course, it needs to come back and settle something. So for me, the area that I'm looking for it to come and settle would be somewhere around this particular area. So you can see this 50. However, it could easily come back down to around this level, which is the 47 cents mark that I was looking at. Now, if we can hold anything around that 47 cents, right? Or, you know, say 53, just for the sake of this video, right? If we say 53, if it can hold on to this, that's very bullish. That will then give the opportunity for us to come back and break this area and hopefully test out for the next high, which is around this particular area here, which is the $1.30. So we have an opportunity here to test the $1.30. Now, when I say we, I'm doing it wrong, because I'm not an XRP holder, guys. So please do understand this. I'm not an XRP holder. I've never been a fan of XRP, because I understand the fact between XRP and Ripple, right? The court case that was won regarding XRP, I understand all of this, but it's only a partial win for the company. The company itself has never been impacted. Ripple itself has never been impacted. And these are hardcore facts, right? Ripple still operates as it did from day one, right? Ripple operates with all the banks and institutions. Ripple does money transfers for all of these international settlements. It does all of these things, right? So Ripple has never been affected. So understand the clear difference between Ripple and XRP. XRP was made for the public. This is the problem with XRP. This is one of the main reasons why, even if XRP goes to $10, $100, I really don't care, right? Because I know that XRP was not designed to empower the people. And also, looking at XRP's market cap, XRP will never go to $10. It just can't, unless they decide to burn half the supply or something, then maybe, right? So the opportunities are not that great, but the opportunity for you to go back to $2, maybe even $3, greatly high, it is very much possible. Now, other fundamentals to look at is, if you look at this particular area here, you can see that we've been trending in this upward wedge, like kind of a little wedge here. So based on this wedge, if you look carefully, let me zoom in a little bit. Hold on, let me zoom in a little bit. So if you look carefully how this wedge works, so this wedge is like this, right? So the design of this wedge is this way. This can either go, I mean, one way or another, but it clearly did this. Now this means it will definitely come back to this bottom level. So I am still targeting the 45, because that's where I believe that I will be probably making the most of the money if I was to buy. Obviously, I'm not going to buy. So that's a different story. You know, for me, look, BTC is the king. That's the one I follow. That's the one I know that will basically do everything that needs to be done. The entire market will follow this structure. We're at the 30K, right? And you can see these are lines that I drew from time back, right? And each line is showing what needs to happen. So based on that, we know where we are. I mean, I haven't drawn another new line, but so far, I think we could easily come back down to this particular low. Worst case scenario, if we don't, then, you know, if we start moving up, then we only have a very small resistance. You can see here, very small resistance. So currently we're holding support, which is great. Very small resistance. Once we break this resistance, this $33,000, whatever, this area here, $33,000 level, 37K is just around the corner. And once we hit the 37K, you can see how we start moving back up again, right? You can see how we start moving back up again towards the $68,997, and then off to the races, right? This is when shit really hits the fan. This is when everybody's really going to get excited. So watch out for that one. That's coming, and I think it's going to be coming very soon. You can even see a drawing I made back in 2021. I was talking about a structure, how the market structures work, and I drew this and I left it there. And actually, that's the same chart from 2020. This is the same chart from 2020, or 2021 probably. But the point is it's an old chart, old lines. Everything is playing out exactly as it should. Every support is becoming resistance, and every resistance is becoming support. So we know where the thresholds were. But currently, what I can confirm from, you know, when I look at the chart and when I see where we are right now, we are officially not in the bull market yet, right? We are officially not in the bull market, which means that anything below 33 is still a great buy zone. If you want to play the bull market, anything below $33,000 is a great opportunity is for the bull market. The reason I say 33 is because of this particular candle here. Right, and I'm going to zoom into this particular candle here. So this single candle here, this green candle here, this single green candle here on Monday 8th November 2021, right? So this is a weekly candle, obviously, but this candle here gave us this body, right, which was $65,000 and a half, right? So just say $66,000. Coincidentally, the current threshold that we have at the 33K, which is here, right, is 50% of the all-time high. So that is an indication that when we touch that 50%, then expect a parabola. Because at that 50% mark, there's one of two things has to happen. The market has to crash and go to a new low and then, you know, reset, and then we obviously push forward and try and come back to that level. So we need a new local high. And then we come down. So we're not going to have an all-time high. We're going to have a local high at that particular 33K mark. We have to do one of the other. But if we cross over, then from that point onwards, it's just going one direction. From that point onwards, you're looking at a 2x. So if we go to $33,000 right now, and we start pushing, and we're looking at a 2x from there, you do the maths, right? I'm not going to give you numbers, but that's what the market will be doing. And that's when, you know, shit really gets interesting, right? And I'm not throwing numbers out. I'm not going to say, oh, it's going to go to 500K, $1 million, whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm not one of those guys who's going to give you unrealistic numbers. What happens in the future happens. We might not even live to see that day, but that's not what I'm looking at. I'm just being realistic right now and saying, what's the probability? What's really going to happen? So based on how charts work and how fundamentals work on a chart, we can turn around and say, well, if we hit that 50% mark, then we might see a massive rejection, which could bring us to a new local. So that will give us a new local high. We can come down, stay there for about 6 months, maybe even a year, and then test it again. Or we break that mark and we start pushing for a 2x from there. That's minimum threshold is 2x from there. That means that previous all-time high will be smashed and a new all-time high will be created, and the probability would be a 2x, right? Or close to 2x. I won't say 2x, it's going to be a close to 2x, right? And I'm going to use the Fibonacci method on that one. So pretty much 1618, the way I'm going to say is going to be 1.6. So 2x is going to be more like 1.6, right? So if you just would do that maths, then it's like whatever it is, you know, 100%, it's going to be 160% basically. So it's a crazy way of thinking, but that's pretty much it. 160%, but 160% on 33 is a lot, right? Because remember, it's also compounding as well. So based on that, that's what I'm looking at. So it's going to be very interesting, very, very interesting. Next, 1.5 year, I would say. I don't want to say too much here, but 1.5 year, because a lot has changed in the industry, in the market, and a lot of things are very different than they would be normally. So if I was to normally assess a cryptocurrency project or the entire cryptosphere, and that's what I like to do, I just talk about the entire cryptosphere. If I was to assess that when we were, most of us were just degens just going into crypto, then it would be a complete different analysis. But now looking at the market and seeing institutions and all of that interested, if not already bought, right? Things are very different. So I'm looking at it in a complete different way, that the probability of us to do some new all-time highs is quite high. Also, when I showed you the stochastic RSI, you can see that RSI is still pointing up. It's not completely flatline and it's not down either. But of course, it's lagging data. Regardless, I'm still bullish based on that, and knowing that we are literally only a couple of $1,000s away. So only 10% away from the 50% mark. 50% mark is very important. The all-time high was the price we reached, but it wasn't the price we closed. That $66,000 candle is a candle that we actually physically closed. So that has more power than a wick on the top. So if that makes sense, right? And of course, when we do that, you will see all alts pump. So I have mentioned to a lot of the guys on Discord. So I've pretty much spoke about everything on Discord. And I've said to them, I said, guys, now is the time to buy, right? You know, if you haven't already. So just buy and just forget about it. And this is obviously not a financial advice, but the point is now that the market is still low, it's still below that 50% mark. If you have favorite coins that you haven't bought, you're still waiting. You still think there's going to be a dip, right? Or you still think something's not going to right. You're not confident. Well, you invest a very small amount that you can afford to lose. And again, this is no financial advice. This is purely for education. You invest a very small amount and you forget about it. And you have to forget about it for the next 18 months minimum, right? I am being a bit cryptic. I'm not going to be direct here because the fact is, as I said, I'm not a financial advisor. Anything here you observe, you see, you hear is just purely for educational use or entertainment if you want, right? So some people might laugh at it, which is fine. But that's what it is. I'm not going to give you any actual advice to do whatever. You run your life, do your own research. That's how it is, right? But that's like when I'm looking at charts, when I'm analyzing the market using the global data available to me, like news, corporations, hype, whatever, you name it, all of that, and just making a statistical assessment, right? Statistical, bloody hell, that's a tongue twist. Anyway, assessment. It just makes more sense to me, what I can say and what I can predict, right? So based on that, and remember, I'm not doing a prediction, I'm more doing a projection because I don't have a crystal ball, guys. I don't see the future. I only look at candles and I can observe and say, okay, that's really going to happen. But I'm doing that with, think about it like a weight, right? So I have this weight, this weighing machine, right? And it says to me, what's the candle doing and what's the market doing, right? Or what's the candle doing and what's the global news doing, right? What's the candle doing and what are people doing? What's the candle doing and what's the companies doing? So when I take all of these things, I've got to put the candle on one side and then I've got to put the other fundamental on another side. And then I'm trying to weigh and I'm saying, which one's heavier, right? Is the candles weight heavier or is the fundamentals weight heavier, right? Ultimately, fundamentals will always win. So that's how I'm basing these assessments and saying, right, if the market's going to go up or down is purely based on that. So there is no such thing as a prediction. This is pure logical calculation, right? Where I'm using a measurement and saying, well, what weighs more? What direction do I think is going to go? So for example, recent XRP news, the day the news broke out, a few hours later, the news is everywhere. Great. Okay. Everyone's excited. XRP won. So I take a step back and I'm like, okay, if XRP won, market's going to pump, but it's not healthy because now the market's going to be dumped because a lot of people are going to be cashing out. So new players are going to come in, but the old players are going to cash out. They're not going to cash out everything. They'll probably cash out their initial investment. Because remember, a lot of people have been holding for the entire bull market, the previous bull market. They were holding because they couldn't sell. A lot of people have bought it at the high, which was the $1.90 or something, or $3 or something like this at some stage. In some exchanges, it was about $3. So a lot of people have bought at their high. They haven't recovered their money yet. They're at a loss. But they held strong, and I respect that, right? The XRP army is one of the highest respected people of the community for me, right? At least, I think that I have, uttermost respect for them because they are the best community out there. Doesn't matter what happened, they held strong, they bought even more, they dollar cost average, you name it, they did all of that. And but that's great, in that particular way where I respect them, but I also know that they got to cash out at some stage. They have to take the initial out. So that's where I was using a bit of logic, and trying to see where is that weight, like in that particular day, where is that weight? And I was like, that weight is in the wrong place, right? Because the candle has more weight, which is not going to work because that candle moved too fast, but the news is telling me something else, right? Because remember, the fundamentals has more power always, right? It always wins, almost always wins, right? So the fundamental there was, nope, someone's got to cash out. That's how I based it. And of course, you can see today the market has crashed pretty much exactly as we thought. But is it over? No. This is only Friday. I wouldn't worry too much about it. We've got Saturday, Sunday to close. Obviously, Sunday night, we're going to close the weekly candle. And this is all based on a weekly, by the way, guys. I'm not looking at daily nonsense. I don't look at daily. So on Sunday, if we close this candle where we are right now, absolutely fine. We have zero problems. So I know a lot of people might get worried and say, well, hold on, now we're below this level. Isn't this dangerous, right? You know, if you're below this particular level, isn't this dangerous? Actually, no. As long as we stay above this level, we're fine. Because this candle here, this particular candle that we had here, right, this power candle that we had here, this single candle, this is the one that you have to invalidate to get to this level here, right? But as long as we don't invalidate that and we stay above this level here, this particular candles here, we're fine. Or even these candles here, we're fine, because that candle still has the power to keep the market going. And this is why I'm looking at it in a positive way. I'm like, actually, we're absolutely fine. This is not bearish at all. This is bullish. This candle here coming down, this last candle here, doesn't bother us solely because of what the previous candle, what this specific candle here did, right? That's the reason why I think everything's going to go. And I think that also gives an opportunity. So when you see the profit taking is done now, so people got to you take out your profit. Now you got to reassess and come back in. Of course, a lot of money is going to move around now. So people who have made some profits on XRP are going to move that money, shift it, maybe Ethereum, maybe BTC, maybe Link, maybe whatever, right? BNB, you name it, Matic, doesn't matter what it is. They're going to be pumping it into something else. Maybe some low caps, maybe some high caps. You don't know. But that's what's going to happen. So the money is going to turn around and filter back in. And when that money does filter back in, then of course, you know, diversification comes in and people will reinvest that funds. And I think when they do reinvest that funds, there's going to be opportunities for XRP to pump even further. And what I mean by that, when I look at XRP, you know, let's go back to XRP. I'm going to use a different chart, by the way, guys, because the Binance one is quite short. So when we go back to XRP, what will happen is the next level we're going to go and test, like when the money refilters back in, and if they can break this, because the next round will definitely break this particular resistance level. And if it does, you can see we're shooting straight for the $1 where is it? Yeah, there, $1.41, right? That's where we're pushing for, $1.41. Of course, we're gonna, if we go further back, then you can see that $3.31 was the highest that XRP ever did. So there are people holding from that price. But regardless what happens, once you start breaking these thresholds, a new all-time high is possible. Because again, if you look at the structure of the market, so on the recent timeline, if you look at the structure of the market from here to this particular bottom here, this kind of a structure, this is like more like the 50% mark. So if we are currently testing this 50% area, then this also is a sign that we want to shoot up. Of course, if we get rejected and now entire market rejects, then it could come back down, right? So you got to understand it, that if we get rejected from where we are now, then we can come back down to this level, but it's not bearish because that still remains the 50% mark. Now, if we can break above the 50% mark, then now you're on trajectory for a new all-time high, which could easily lead to the first round would be the $1.96, right? $1.96. And then of course, when you do the $1.96, you look at the $3.31. However, there's a fun fact. Remember what I said about BTC doing the 1.6x, right? Or close to 2x. So when we do the 2x on that, it actually does the same thing here, and a 2x from the this particular area 196 to the previous all-time high, if you look at it, is pretty much the same number. So the maths also works on this. So you have to understand, you don't need to do maths on every single coin. Of course, you want to see your entries and your exits, right? That's what you would work on. But when you look at how high can it go or how low can it go, all right? You know, we don't know how low something can go because a project could easily die and go to zero, or something could depeg, or something could happen. We've seen this on FTX. We've seen this with Luna and all sorts, right? We've seen that, right? So it does happen. So if we forget all of those things and we just look at, you know, just look at the coin for what it is right now, then all you need is one coin, you know, to do the maths on. So you do maths on the best or the biggest coin out there, the one with the most amount of money invested. So in my case, I choose BTC. So all I'm doing is doing all my maths on BTC. And then I take that mathematics, you know, whether it's 1.6x or whatever, or 2x or whatever I want to say. When I say that's going to be the new all-time high, All I have to do is take that same maths and put it on any other coin, and it's the same result. So sometimes I don't even have to look at other coins. By just looking at BTC, I'm like, okay, that's what BTC is going to do. So based on that, that's what every other coin is going to do. At least, right? So you look at that and you say, that's the minimum it's going to do. And it's all based on the Fibonacci's that I use, because it's my Fibonacci technique, basically. So that's what I would do. Blindly, without looking, I'm just saying, like, well, okay, that's what the Fibonacci is going to do. You know? So I hope this kind of makes sense. I know it's kind of a long one. I didn't want to really make a long one, but brother KR was mentioning, you know, make something, put something out there. I was like, look, I really don't know what to talk about, because everything that we want to talk about, I've probably talked about on Discord already. You know, the private communications we've had, talked about it. But yeah, I mean, if that helps, then good luck. You know, that's what it is. I hope this video is informative, and maybe next time I'm going to talk about something else, because sometimes, you know what, patience is very important. When you go and start searching for information, you're actually not helping yourself. Because what's happening is your mind is being changed by other influencers and many influencers, right? And I don't consider myself to be an influencer, but your minds will be changed. So in order to, you know, stay strong and, you know, have a strong willpower, what you need to do is you make your mind up. And I've mentioned this many times. You want to buy something, you buy it. You are committed to it. And then you set a timeline and you say, well, around this time is when I want to exit, right? And then you also set a threshold and say, around this profit margin is when I want to take my initial investment up. Your profits doesn't matter. How much profit you make doesn't matter. Let me tell you this, right? You invest $100 and the $100 turns into $1 million. Your $100 turning into $1 million doesn't matter until you cash out $1 million. Does that make sense? You could be a billionaire for everybody, but until you cashed out your $100 or $1 million or $1 billion, whatever, you haven't made that money. So your first target should be to take your initial investment out. Now you know you have zero investment, so you did really well. If someone has made money from zero investment, you did really well. And then if you take some profit, now you're in profit, right? Whatever profit you take, you're in profit. So until you exit, it's not a reality. That's the reality here, right? So when someone's invested $1,000 and made $1 million from it, or $100 and made $1 million, until you cash out, it's not real. It's just another number on a chart sheet, right? Or some sort of a sheet. So be realistic and, set yourself some guidelines, set yourself some rules and say, that's the rule. If I make, I'm prepared to hold it for this long, 5 years, 10 years, whatever, the longer the better. You say, I'm going to hold it for this year because you're not convicted in this project. And you say, I believe in this project. That's what I believe, right? That's what's going to happen. So this is like how the XRP army did it, right? So you say, I'm convicted. That's what I want to do. That's what I believe it's going to do. And I'm going to leave it there. So you do that, fine. But you also have to cash out. So when the price hits a particular threshold, the first thing you should be doing is taking out your initial investment and take out the thing. And then in between that, now between the threshold and between the timeline, you are going to hear so many news, good news and bad news, mostly bad news, because news never gives you good news. So it's always going to be bad news, right? So you're going to hear a lot of news. All you have to do is ignore it. Completely find a way of shutting out that news, right? Because remember, when you entered this particular project, crypto, investment, whatever, right? You were convicted, right? You said, that's my conviction. I believe in this and I think this is going to do this, So that you have to stick with it. You can't change your mind midway. So that's what it is. And it's a hard one. I know it's a hard one for a lot of people. And I'm not saying this like, look, I've had bad investments, right? This year I've lost a lot of money. This year, beginning of this year to now, hasn't been good for me. I've lost a lot of money. But the same rules applied to me. I've invested money. I was fully convicted. I said, this is what I'm investing for. This is what I hope this will do within 5 years, 10 years, whatever from now. And, I want it to work for me, obviously, but it didn't work. But I was still, in it, regardless what happened, whether it went up or down, I was still in it. And of course, in my case, it went down. So I lost money, right? but my conviction didn't change. My belief didn't change. And that's the power, that I still believe in myself. I believe in what I want to do, or I believe in what I've invested in. Unfortunately, the company or the whatever I was investing didn't work out. What can you do? There's nothing you can do about that. You know what? You move on. It's still there. The investment's still there, but you move on. I'm not going to hold on to it. I'm not going to dread over it. And I did, by the way, I did, right? I was emotionally broke from it. But I got out again. I said, right, I need to recover. I need to get myself back together, and I want to be focused. So that's what I've done. I've come back and I'm still focused. And I'm like, okay, the money's still there. Everything's still there. Of course, I've lost money in that sense, right? But what am I going to do about it? I can't do anything about it. So maybe in the future, it might turn around and make me something, but I don't know if it's going to do that or not. Or maybe I might have a total loss. Regardless what happens, I need to move on. I need to move myself on. I need to take that next step, right? So for me, the next step was, right, move on, do something else, restart, and do it all over again. And that's what I'm doing. I've just restarted, right? So that's how it is. Some projects will never succeed. 99% of crypto projects may never succeed. And you might just end up being a bag holder for the rest of your life. You might lose 99.99% of all of your investments. But if you've done it with conviction and complete trust and belief, and if it is a good project, right, then they usually do come back. They usually do come back. I mean, a few projects recently I saw started pumping. I was like, wow, okay, they've woke up again. And these are ancient projects. These are old 2016, 2015 projects that just woke up. And I was like, wow, okay, so they also woke up. So even those, we have millions of tokens out there. None of them made a dent, right? They've come in, they've hyped, they've taken money, made money, whatever, but they haven't changed anything. They haven't really done anything. They're like most of them are like non-existent now, right? There's no one out there. But these projects have stuck it out, and they're still there, and people believe in them, and people are still holding them, and they still pump, right? That says to me that, yes, that there's hope out there. Right? There's hope out there that, projects that you trust in, you believe in, will come back at some stage. Other than that, guys, I'm not going to say anything else. I hope the video was informative, especially the first part. Of course, I've had a bit of a rant at the end, but I hope it was informative. I don't wish bad for anybody. I hope everybody makes a lot of money this bull run, and invest wisely, do your own research. And as I said, I'm not a financial advisor, but I just kind of like to speak my mind. And as I said, most of the stuff that I would say is more educational than anything else. So I hope this helps somebody. And if you like the videos, do share it. If you don't like the video, tell me what it is that you don't like about it. And yeah, let's go on from there. As I said, I'm doing a reset. Adios, my amigos.